Hey y'all, guess what? I'm back. I've missed y'all and I have rebranded, whatever that means. Basically, it means I changed the name of the podcast, but you can still find it on the same link that you used to use. And if you subscribe to Recharting Your Life with Hope, you'll automatically be subscribed to the new podcast. You probably won't see a ton of changes the first couple of weeks, or maybe not even the first couple of months, because I am, doing it slow, but it's called Physician Assistant Burnout. Why? Because I have felt pulled towards this particular type of client for a while. And I've said it, but I haven't really made it official. And I read back over my journal from last year at this time, and even before that, I'd started saying, "I really feel like I should be serving burned out PAs. I feel like I went on my journey, and this is what I wish I had had, these tools and somebody to kinda say, 'This is normal. Here are some things you can do.'" I've also felt pulled to interview PAs. I have interviewed PAs before, but especially ones who are doing cool things or who have found things to do outside of clinical medicine or just who have cool stories. And so that is what you'll hear, at least this season. Who knows? We may pivot as we go on. And what else was I gonna say? Oh, I have a new cover art. So it's just a new picture. So if you're scrolling through Apple and you're like, I don't see the normal pink and gray design, that's because there's a new design. So good to have y'all back. And today we're talking about how to get what you really want. I know some people are like, that's selfish to get what you really want, but we're going to talk about all that because I started thinking about when I was a kid and I had this particular Christmas when I really wanted 3 things. I was about 5 years old and I told Santa in the mall, "Santa, I want a doll, I want makeup," and I wanted real makeup. "I want a game," and I was picturing in my head a game with a lot of pieces, like Monopoly or Chutes and Ladders or something like that, but I didn't specify what I wanted. What was the other thing? Oh, I wanted something to play with outside. And in my head, I'm thinking like a new play set, a new playhouse, like something big and fun outside. Well, I was very surprised on Christmas morning. We didn't wrap our presents. My parents didn't wrap our presents. They would just have a place for my gifts and a place for my older sister's gifts. And my little sister was not born yet, and so we ran out there, and, there was that just split second of looking at the 2 chairs. I would look at my sister's chair and look at my chair, and, I didn't know which one was mine, and she was, 19 months older than me, so, of course, her stuff always looked cooler, and so herein lies the dilemma. So I look over at her stuff, and she has I don't know which game she got. Probably that was the year she got Monopoly. And guess which game I got? It was called Bible Picture Lotto. I don't know why it was called Lotto, not like lottery, probably. I think it was a matching game with Bible characters. And I was like, what? But, that's one gift. You keep looking. And so I see the makeup, and it was, like, in this little pink compact, and there was a pink lipstick, and I'm starting to get excited, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's finally like, I have makeup." And I opened up the little compact, and it had different color eyeshadows, and it took me about 2 seconds to realize it was plastic. It was not real makeup. And the lipstick was plastic. It would not leave anything on your lips if you rubbed it on your lips. I mean, I was so disappointed and deflated. And then my mom was like, "Let's run outside. Let's see what you girls got." So my sister gets a pair of stilts. Like seriously, a pair of stilts. I didn't even know that was like something you could own at your house. I thought it was just a circus thing. And I got a kickball, or maybe it was a dodgeball. I don't know, but it was something that, you play with at PE. And we did not live in a neighborhood. We lived out in the middle of nowhere. So who's going to play kickball with me? So I threw the biggest tantrum of my life and cried, threw my gifts across the room. And my dad had had enough. And as a parent, I know how he feels now. But at the time, it seemed like he was being very irrational because I was not mad at him. I was mad at Santa. I told Santa exactly what I wanted and I got crap. And so my dad loaded up my gifts in a black garbage bag. I can still picture it. He threw it in the back of his pickup truck and drove off. And I just stood there in the yard and I was kind of confused, mad, sad. You know how as a kid, when you really want something and the grown-ups just don't understand and you don't get it and you're kind of being a brat, but you also can't help it because you're really disappointed. So that's how I felt. I did end up, my dad brought the gifts back. I had to apologize. I still was confused because you're not Santa. I'm mad at Santa. But anyway, what did I learn from this and what does this have to do with burnout? You really need to be specific about what you want. This is the point of this entire episode. If you don't get anything else out of it, I want you to get out of it that you cannot be vague about what you want going forward. You can't be non-specific about, I just want to feel supported. I just want to be appreciated. I just want better hours. You need to get really specific. So why don't we? Why don't we get really specific? I think it's because we feel like we're selfish. As I said in the very beginning, like when you say, here's what I really want, it sounds like you're being bratty. And who wants to be bratty? But this is not the case. I mean, who knows what you want better than you? If you're not going to fight for what you want, if you're not going to go after what you want, who else is? When I was a kid and they had Star Search, I used to think, like, one day somebody's gonna discover me. Now, don't ask me what talent I thought they were gonna discover in me, because I have no talents as far as singing, dancing, musical instruments, um, nothing. I mean, really 0 skills as far as that, but you know how kids just think they're gonna be discovered one day? One day somebody's gonna see me. Um, the other reason we don't say what we really want is we don't know what we want. And this I hear from clients all the time. They say, I just don't know. I just don't know. And sometimes I'll say, well, what do you know? Or what do you know that you don't want? And sometimes if you just flip it around like that, it'll help you figure out what it is you do want. I think we're afraid to say what we really want because if you put it out there, you stand the chance of being disappointed. We for the first time had like 0 plans on Christmas Day other than do the open gifts thing. And my husband and I were like, okay, we should make the day fun. We should like go to a movie, go find some Chinese food. We should have like a little get together Sunday night or Monday night, Christmas night. And I was like, oh yeah, and we could have like a signature drink. We could have like, with the winter theme. And I kind of got into it. And surprisingly, my daughter was like, I don't want to do that. I do not want to do that. And I was like, why not? You're Miss Social. Like you dream of us having parties. She says we're not social enough. And she said, what if nobody comes? We'll be so disappointed. And it's Christmas, and I don't want to be really disappointed on Christmas. And this is the same thing we do with not speaking up about what it is we really want. We're just really afraid of becoming disappointed. And then the fourth thing is we don't give ourselves permission. We don't think we deserve to say what we really want. And I think women probably do this more than men. But if we say, I'd like to make 20,000 more a year, we think, I don't know if I deserve that. Or who am I to think I need to make that much money? Um, or I'd love to find a different job. Well, who do I think I am? We kind of do this self talk in our heads. But as I said, if you don't allow yourself to do it, who else is? There's not going to be some magic unicorn that shows up that just gives you what you want. You have to show up for yourself, and you're also not going to have like a boss or a supervisor or an organization that guesses what you want or that just all of a sudden wants to reward you. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you are doing such a good job. I really think you deserve a raise." Or, "You know what? This place has been rather toxic. I think what we need is for you to give us your input and tell us who to get rid of." That's just not going to happen. Um, think about when you order something from Amazon. And now you can stand in your kitchen and you can say, "Alexa, or order more fish oil." Or "Alexa, order more whatever, order a weighted blanket." But if you don't get specific, something is gonna show up and you're not gonna be happy. If you say, "Alexa, order something for me to wear on December 31st, New Year's Eve." It may not fit right, it may not be what you had in mind, it may not be, um, at all what you were thinking, and this is what happens if you don't speak up and you don't tell the universe, God, Santa Claus, your boss, whoever, what you really want. Okay, but what if you really don't know what you want? Like, what do you do then? Okay, so I've got a podcast episode about figuring out what it is you really want when you start dreaming and scheming. So I'll link that in the show notes. Um, but back to burnout, what does this have to do with burnout? Okay, a while back, I was listening to, or I was reading Facebook posts, and I was in this PA group, and somebody said, "Don't you hate it when people who are burned, or don't you hate it when you're burned out and people just keep telling you that the solution is to cut back to part time?" And the attitude of this person writing it was sort of like, it must be nice for those people who can just cut back to part time. It must be nice, people who don't have all these expenses that I have. And there were a lot of PAs who agreed with this person. And finally, people started posting who disagreed. And they were tentative at first, but what they said was basically, "Hey, I used to feel like you did, but I took control of my life. I decided I didn't want to stay at that job forever. I didn't want to work that many hours. I didn't want to put up with that boss. So I made changes. I realized I had a choice." A few of the people who posted said they had done things like Dave Ramsey, or they had paid off their student loans, their mortgage. They had made financial choices that allowed them to deal with their burnout in a different way. Not saying money is the answer to burnout, but it allows you to make more choices. Um, so if you don't get really specific about what you want, if you just complain and you just say, "Oh, my job is so awful," or "Nobody understands, my boss just has unrealistic expectations," then you're not taking agency over your life. So the people who look around, they make a decision that they have power in their lives to make change. They want to figure out which path it is they want to take, which parts of their life, of their job, of their lives they can change, and then they work towards figuring it out. So, the other thing I've done differently is like in my coaching, I've sort of divided it into three different parts. So, the first part will be like clients who are sort of at that lost, I have no idea what to do, I have no idea what I want to do type situation. The second group they have more agency, they have more power. They've kind of decided, all right, I have a choice. I'm not entirely powerless here, but I don't know what I do want. And then the third group, they know what they want, They just need encouragement and accountability to get there. So if you happen to go on my website, that's the difference now. Um, so if you're like 5-year-old Hope, you think that life just happens. Like I thought, well, yeah, you can say what you want. You can circle things in the Sears Wish catalog, but you get what you get and you don't pitch a fit. Or if you do, bad stuff happens, like all your gifts get taken away in a black garbage bag. Or you can be like the 6-year-old Hope. So a year later, I had completely shifted my mindset. And by December of 1982, I had decided, this is not happening again. I am going to tell Santa, tell the universe, pray to God, whatever. I am going to get so specific. And so I'll tell y'all 2 different examples of this. So one was I wanted a monkey as a pet so bad. Like, I was obsessed with monkeys. I had stuffed monkeys, monkey calendars, monkey squish toys, like, all this monkey stuff, and I would see at my grandma's house when we would read National Enquirer. I was too little to read it, but I would see ads for monkeys in the back, and so I would tell my mom, "I want a monkey, I want a pet monkey so bad," and she would say, "Hope, I don't even think they're legal in the US." And so she sent me a copy of a letter that I wrote to the president of the United States because I was taking it into my own hands. I'm like, well, I got to figure this out. If monkeys are legal, I'm getting one. And so it was like, Dear Mr. President, I am writing to ask if monkeys are allowed in the US. And anyway, it was really cute, written in my little 6-year-old handwriting. The other thing was I totally lost my train of thought. What was that other thing? Oh, I think it was doll clothes. And I found the letter where I measured with my foot. Like I didn't have a measuring stick or really a way to measure, but I knew I could like measure my doll by the size of my foot and I could tell Santa like, okay, size 12 shoe and I need doll clothes that'll fit this. And my next letter was so specific about what I wanted. I don't think I ended up putting the monkey on there because I didn't hear back from the president in time. Um, but with with life, you have got to spell out what you want. You've probably heard of vision boards, but that takes a lot of time. I'm a huge fan of vision boards because you put what you want, it plants little seeds in your subconscious, and then without even knowing it, you end up pursuing those things and saying yes to certain things, and they end up happening. But we're not talking about vision boards today. I just want you to follow these steps as you think about what you want for your career or your personal life in 2024. So, the first thing is name what you want, get as specific as possible. Spell it out, don't leave any room for error. If you are relying on other people to help this come to fruition, like let's say you want $18,000 more. I mean, you've got to make sure you make a point to talk to your boss or your supervisor about it. So don't just keep it to yourself if it involves other people. Um, so yes, sorry, I don't have my glasses on. So dates, if you can put a date, like, all right, by May of next year, I will blah, blah, blah. Put very specific amounts, put numbers if there are numbers involved. You've probably heard the story from me about Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey, before he became a famous actor, wrote himself a check back when people wrote checks. He wrote himself a check for $10 million and he dated it for, I think it was 5 years in the future. I don't remember, maybe 10 years in the future, but it said for acting services rendered. And right before that date on his check, he found out he was going to be making $10 million for Dumb and Dumber. And I know this sounds so woo woo, but I want you to write it down. I write in my journal every day, like I will be a published Hay House author or I will be a New York Times bestseller, depending on the day. I'm working on a book, and this year I've hired somebody to help me birth it into being. I call her a book midwife, and I have very specific goals. Within 8 months, this book will be published. So y'all can hold me to it. Let's see. Repeatedly revisit your specific wishes or dreams over and over. So you can't just do this on New Year's Day. You can't just say it once. You're going to forget it. So remember the Christmas story, the little boy who wanted the Red Ryder BB gun? He told whoever would listen that he wanted it. And he would go look at his little magazines that showed the Red Ryder BB gun. He would dream about it. He thought about it. He visualized himself shooting the bad guys with his Red Ryder BB gun. So you've got to keep your dream front and center. So, this very specific dream, if you're able to see it in your mind's eye, do that. And if you're not, then see it like on paper, like we're in your handwriting. And tell people, like if it's your birthday coming up and you really, really, really wanted a pair of pearl earrings, but you only mention it once, you're probably not going to get them. You have to mention it again and again, just like that Red Ryder BB gun. Number 3, don't listen to naysayers because you are gonna have people who are like, I don't know. Like, why would you want to do that? Um, keep your eye on the prize. So you may have to, keep it in stealth mode, like Sarah Blakely did when she invented Spanx. She didn't tell anybody, friends or family, for a solid year. And she said it would distract. It would distract me from what I know I am meant to do because I would spend all my time explaining what I'm doing and giving people excuses about why I'm not spending as much time with them or whatever. Don't listen to naysayers. Do you remember when in the Christmas story the little boy wrote an essay and his teacher was like, "A Red Ryder BB gun, you'll shoot your eye out." She was a naysayer. He should have not included her in his Red Ryder BB gun dream. Number 4, when you feel your determination waning, remind yourself that whatever it is you want is there for a reason, even if it's something that's like money or a raise. It is there for a reason. Something inside of you says, I deserve this. So don't discount that. We're all different. We all have different dreams and goals, and they're all inside of us for a reason. So give yourself permission. You're allowed to want what you want. Number 5, reverse engineer. This is how you make things happen. Just pretend you're looking at a maze on the back of a menu at a restaurant, like little kids do, and you start at the end with what you want and you work backwards. And the key is you do the smallest possible steps. Like we call these turtle steps in life coaching. This is the easiest, most ridiculously easy step you could possibly do. And so it's something that you would be like, "Oh my gosh, yes, of course I could do that." And in the case of, like, let's say you want a different job, I mean, the first thing may be beef up your resume, but that may feel too big. So maybe the first thing you do is, update the one section of your resume, or you reach out to a person you haven't talked to in a while and you just say, "Hey, just checking in with you. How's life?" And that's it. And maybe that person could connect you in the future. All right, lastly, remember you and you alone are the person who is ultimately responsible for making your dreams come true. It's not your workplace's job to complete you and to make your job amazing. I know that's hard to believe, but it's really not. It's also not your husband or spouse's job to make you feel adored. Also took me a long time to realize that. It's not up to your kids to make you feel like an awesome mom. You are your own dream maker. And if you're perpetually disappointed in what life gives you, then you're going to have to get creative and you're going to have to make those dreams come true. And You also don't want to force it. So if it's not coming true, ask yourself if the timing's wrong. Maybe you got some of the details wrong, or ask yourself what your intention is. Always go back to your intention. And sometimes if it's misguided, like let's say you're jealous of your coworker and you suspect she makes more than you. And so you want a raise and you cannot stop obsessing about this raise. Well, your intention is not that you deserve more necessarily, it's that you're jealous of her and you want what she has. So go back to your intention if something's not happening. All right, so I will catch y'all next week. Um, I am considering interviewing PAs. So if you have a PA if you know a PA or if you're one who has a cool story, you're doing something unique, or you had an interesting way of dealing with your burnout and you'd like to share that with other people, reach out. You can shoot me a DM at coachhopecook.com. Bye, y'all.